Hi everyone, and welcome to the Enthusiastic Buddhist. In this episode, I want to look at how we can overcome jealousy and envy in our lives. Jealousy is such a toxic emotion, and when it arises, it often overwhelms us to the point where it can consume our mind and lead to many unpleasant thoughts and actions. Now, just to clarify, if someone tells us that they've just obtained something, for instance, they've just inherited some land, and if we wish we could have what they have, in fact, even take it off their hands, then this is called envy or covetousness. But if we take it further and almost feel a bit of resentment towards them for having this thing, and we're unable to feel happy for their happiness and success, then this is referred to as jealousy. So not only do we want what they have, we also don't want them to have it, and we can't feel any joy for their possession of this thing. As you know, jealousy also has another layer when there's a third party involved. If we feel that something we value can be taken away from us, then we can develop jealousy and resentment towards others for this as well. But in this talk, I'm really addressing the jealousy and envy that arises when we wish to obtain something that someone else has and we can't be happy for their possession of it. Now, the Buddha taught that there are 5 main defilements of the mind, these being craving, ignorance, pride, jealousy, and anger. While ignorance and craving can be more subtle, jealousy is very powerful and noticeable, and we know when we're experiencing it because it feels toxic, as if we've swallowed poison. Perhaps one of the reasons it can be so overwhelming is because it combines all the other defilements. For instance, there might be a trace of pride where we feel we're more deserving of the desired object than the other person. We experience aversion because we feel that we don't want them to be happy. There's the desire because we want what they have. And then there's ignorance because we don't understand the true nature of things. Now, the thing with jealousy or envy is that the thing we're envious or jealous about might be real, or it could even be imagined. Maybe they have the object of jealousy in their possession, for instance, a nice house, partner, or great job. Or maybe we think they have it, but it's actually just our perception or our imagination. For example, we might be envious because someone has a particular status or standing among people. We might feel jealous that they're so well respected. Yet in reality, people might have a very different attitude about them behind closed doors. Or we might be jealous of someone because of their friendship or their time spent with someone, but in fact the nature of their relationship isn't what we perceive it to be. Or we might be jealous that they have money when they're actually knee-deep in debt. One of the problems with envy or jealousy is that we might even be jealous of something that they may or may not obtain in the future. For instance, we might be jealous because our friend is talking about the great house, partner, kids, superannuation or security that they might have in the future. So they haven't actually got it yet, but our perceived expectation of them acquiring it is enough to make us jealous. So regardless of whether our envy or jealousy is real or imagined, in other words, whether the jealous object actually exists or not, we can still experience very strong jealous emotions. An interesting thing about jealousy and envy is that it's usually intensified when it's directed at someone we personally know versus a stranger. I mean, why does this happen? There are literally thousands of people in the world who might have these things that we're jealous about, yet our problem is only with the person that we know. The most likely reason for this is because we have this complex web of concepts about this person and their relationship to us. Maybe our pride is at work here a little bit. We might judge ourselves better than them in some respect, and therefore we feel we're more deserving of good things than them. Perhaps there is a degree of unspoken competitiveness that we have with them. Whatever the reason, we can all probably relate to this fact that we're more envious and jealous of people we know than those we don't know personally. In the Buddhist doctrine, the antidote for envy and jealousy is to rejoice in others' happiness and their accomplishments. We should actually feel extreme joy for their good fortune. But feeling joy for others can be extremely difficult when we're already drowning in this wretched emotion. And this is what I found to be the case for me as well. One day I was in retreat doing my meditation practices when suddenly I started thinking about someone, and I was thinking about something that that person had, or at least I perceived that they had, which I wished I had and they didn't have. So I had that element of aversion there. And the feeling was so sudden and so intense, I didn't know how to deal with it. For half a day I couldn't let this feeling go, and it was driving me insane. So I sat down and I came up with this exercise, and the minute I finished it, I felt the jealousy just completely disappear. It was absolutely remarkable. I felt it just lift from my body and my mind. So I'll talk you through the same exercise and the same process I did, and hopefully you'll find it helpful to combat your own jealousy and envy as well. So I want you to grab a piece of paper and a pen and stop doing anything else for the next 10 minutes. Just follow these instructions that I'm going to give you now. So when you're ready, I want you to draw a line down the middle of the page, and at the top of the left-hand column, I want you to write down things I have that they don't have. Things I have that they don't have. Now at the top of the right-hand column, write down things they have that I want. Things they have that I want. So let's start in the right column under where it says things they have that I want. So just write down whatever it is that the person has which you are envious or jealous about. There might be just one thing, or there could be several things. Just write them down in this right hand column, and don't think too hard about this. You don't want to just write down every single possession that that person owns or every quality that they have, unless you happen to be extremely jealous about every single thing. But usually with jealousy, there are a few key things about a person that we're particularly jealous about. There's just something that we can't seem to move past. So don't search for things to write down, but just write down whatever comes to your mind straight away. So go ahead and write that down now. Now if you need to think about it some more, you can pause this video right here and play it again when you're ready for the next step. So now in the left-hand column, under where it says things I have that they don't have, I want you to write down everything that's important to you in your life. You can start by writing down your family members' names, your friends' names, or anyone in your life that you appreciate. And in this column, I want you to spend more time thinking about what you write down. So write down as much as you possibly can. Don't just write down a few people or a few things that come to your mind and then stop there. Really spend some time thinking about the people and things that you can write down in this column. So go ahead and start writing this down, and feel free to pause this video now and take your time to write them all down. So once you've written down your family members and friends, I want you to search every facet of your life, such as your possessions, your hobbies, your health, your personal circumstances. For instance, whether you've got youth on your side or wisdom that comes with age. Anything that you have, just write that down. So again, pause this video here and continue to write them down. So what about education or employment? Is your employment flexible? Do you have a great boss or great colleagues? Just write down anything you have, especially anything you treasure or value. You can possibly even look at spiritual considerations. Do you have time for practice? Do you have a spiritual path or a teacher that you can follow? So again, pause this video here and continue to write down anything else you can think of. Okay, so the first thing you should hopefully notice is how long the list on your left-hand column is. So the things I have that they don't have compared to the right-hand column. Now, one of the reasons we fall prey to envy and jealousy so easily is because we often take what we have for granted, because we rarely reflect on the things that we actually have. And if we don't practice gratitude and contentment, then our minds will more easily fall prey to craving and therefore jealousy. But if you look carefully at what you have on your list in the left-hand column, you'll probably find that the other person should be jealous of you for all the great things that you have. Now, the next thing to ask yourself is there anything you'd be willing to trade on your list in the left-hand column for anything in the right-hand column, being the things that you're envious or jealous about? And would you be willing to trade all your things for that one desired object or thing? Hopefully everything you have is of equal value or more valuable than the items you're jealous about. And it helps to reflect on the fact that this thing they have might be the only good thing that they have in their life. They might have all sorts of other problems going on behind the scenes. Or maybe they're about to be struck by some big calamity in their life, so they deserve to enjoy this thing for a while. Now ask yourself whether the object you desire is something that you might acquire in the future. If not the same, then of equal value in your mind. So maybe in due time, you might also have this thing that you so desire. It's important to consider that the Buddha taught that all phenomena are nothing more than what our mind projects onto them. So this thing that we desire of theirs might not even be a source of happiness for them. In fact, it could even be a source of suffering for them. Then doesn't that make them objects of compassion? For example, maybe their high-paying job brings longer work hours and extra responsibility. Maybe their new house means bigger mortgage payments and they can't go on holidays because they're too busy trying to pay off their mortgage. Or maybe the beauty means that they're always getting unwanted attention and people are always paying attention to their looks instead of their personality. And the more beautiful they are, the more they've got to lose with age as their beauty starts to fade. Maybe they don't feel lucky for having this object or thing at all. And maybe in coming to the point where they have it, they've had to suffer so many losses, such as ill health, marriage breakups, career problems, lost friendships, money or possessions. We should reflect that this thing might also become a source of future suffering for them as well, or even us too if we were to acquire it. The Buddha taught that worldly pleasures such as money, status, fame, friends or possessions will never bring us everlasting happiness, so we shouldn't be so desirous of these things. In fact, our desires usually don't diminish when we obtain the things we want, because our minds have been habitually programmed to crave for more and more or better things. If we have a look today, what we have now was probably something we were desirous of in the past, and it hasn't brought us any lasting happiness. So we should be careful about falling for that voice that says, once I get that thing, then I'll be happy. And if we're jealous about something which the person may or may not acquire in the future, then it might be helpful to reflect on death and impermanence, and that there's no guarantee that they will ever attain this thing that we're so jealous about. One thing we can try, if we find creative visualization techniques helpful, is to think of all the good qualities of this person and all the good things that they've done, and imagine ourselves offering them this thing like a prize, so in recognition of their positive qualities or deeds. And finally, it's always useful to reflect on the fact that ultimately we're all suffering in samsara because of our ignorance. And no matter what temporary happiness they derive from the desired object or thing, they're still going to have to suffer in their life, such as from illness, death of their loved ones, negative emotions, and their own aging and death. So there's really no one we should be jealous about. In fact, everyone is really an object of our compassion. So that's all from me for this video. I hope this exercise has helped alleviate some of your envy and jealousy that you may have been experiencing, or that it has at least given you some tools to reflect on in the future when these negative emotions arise in your mind. So if you want to learn more ways in dealing with negative emotions, please subscribe to my channel. Please like and share this video if you found it helpful, and check out my website enthusiasticbuddhist.com for more on Buddhism and meditation. So take care everyone, have a great week, and I hope to see you in the next video.